Hey guys, it's Friday and I'm back home. So since the last time we talked, I've been to Reston, Virginia for the EWRI Leadership and Council Weekend, which is when all of the committees get together and, well anyway, lots of boring meetings and stuff. So, but it's kind of cool to like go out and network with everybody and see what's going on. And I was asked to go to help figure out what we need to do differently to get more young people in EWRI and ASCE. So it was a lot of fun putting together a Google Doc and adding everybody I met onto the Google Doc, and I now need to go in this weekend and actually start some of the work in the Google Doc. So I did that last weekend. Was that last weekend? Yes, that was last weekend. And I posted a video on my YouTube about figuring out a different way to release information to other engineers. So that was last weekend. And now, this past week, I traveled a little bit again. I flew up to Fort Worth, which is only about a half an hour drive. And, I'm sorry, a half an hour flight. And I went and saw a water treatment plant site, which is not the reason I was there. I was there for a whole different client. So there's a water authority and a river authority, and the water authority wants to put an ASR well on the river authority site. So I was at the river authority site, but I was there for a whole nother reason. And was walking around and looking at the sedimentation basins and the clear well, and they showed me the little pumping, the pump station room because I was interested in it, which was kind of fun. And it was funny that I was there at a water treatment plant the same week that Austin has had a boil water notice, which people keep asking me about the boil water notice, and I really, I don't have an idea about it because I don't work in any of the water treatment plants in Austin. People I work with do work with them, and I still don't think that they have any idea really what's going on, except for what we know from a technical perspective about how the filters work and how you have to backwash the filters every so often, and some of the information that Austin Water has been releasing on their Instagram and through some emails we got. Actually, I got an email from Austin Energy about it, which is not Austin Water, so I was a little confused. But so what they were saying is that demand in Austin is about 120 MGD for all three of their plants, their water treatment plants. And we were producing about 105 MGD. And so we didn't have quite enough water to meet demand, which means we were pulling it out of our storage tanks and some of our other storage around the city. And they sent out a bunch of stuff about being in a drought notice and conserving water, and I don't know that I had seen any of the publication about conserving water until it came out that we were in a boil water notice. And effectively, I don't know if you follow Austin Water's Instagram, but they posted a little graph of all of their water treatment plants and how much they're producing and what demand is, and you can see that right when they had the boil water notice on Monday morning, that demand went down because it's, you have to boil your water, so it's not as readily available. And so it did curtail some of the demand, and they were able to stay up with it. Now, what they were concerned about was the rivers out here. We have surface water intakes for water supply in Austin. I don't know if you guys knew that. It's all surface water based. And it's a little turbid normally. It goes through the filters and they treat it. With all the rain we've been having and with the crazy amount of flooding, there's so much mud in the water. If you go down by the Colorado River, it just looks like chocolate milk, which is crazy. The river is so full and it's so muddy and turbid, and it's just silt and clay and things that are kicking off the bottom and getting carried through the water, and the water is going faster, so it's able to keep some of the sediment in suspension instead of letting it fall out of suspension and float to the bottom of or drop to the bottom of the riverbed. So the water is really turbid. They have to send it through the filters. The filters are getting kicked up a lot more easily, I would assume, because of all the turbidity. And then they have to backwash the filters to pull some of the mud and gunk off the filters. And I think when you backwash filters, you take them out of service, you backwash them, and then you put them back in. I'm not sure how it works in Austin, but that would also hurt your ability to meet demand if instead of producing water consistently, you then have to stop producing, take them out of service to clean them, and then put them back into service. So, I don't know the specifics here in Austin, but I did see that little chart, and it made sense that when people started curtailing their water use, we were able to meet the demand a little bit better. And I think what they were probably worried about was if you have too much cake buildup on your filter, you then can get what they call breakthrough, and it's when mud or the silt or the particles or whatever's on the filter will come off the filter and go into the system, and that you absolutely don't want to happen. And I think they were just worried that it was going to happen. But all of the testing that I heard about said that there was no E. coli hits, none of the bacteria had hits. And then when I was in Fort Worth on Wednesday, I did hear that there was a turbidity hit, which was 5 NTU, which I don't know if you've seen how they do turbidity testing. You take like a little vial of the water and you put it into this machine that's about that big. You just stick it in and you press go, and the little display on it tells you what the turbidity is. It sends lasers through it, and you calibrate it so that if it has this much reflectivity, or if it can't go through this much of the water, it knows the turbidity. It's a very simple machine, but 5 NTU is low. It's so low that I can't tell. If I were looking at a little vial of water, I would have no idea that if it was 0 or 5 NTU. And NTU is something turbidity unit, National Turbidity Unit. Yeah, I don't know what the N stands for, but it's just a standard unit that we use to measure turbidity. So my cat is over here playing around. So they did have a 5 NTU hit, which I think is enough that it violates the secondary water standards. So primary water standards are things that are bad for your health. Secondary water standards are things that make the water taste bad or smell bad or look bad. And so the 5 NTU violates the secondary standard. It might be a primary, I don't know. I don't deal with drinking water after it's been treated very often. I'm more on the figure it out and I'll get it to you guys, and then y'all can treat it and send it out to the system. The trains are so loud. The cat is just over here staring at me like, what is this thing going by? So, boil water notice, got back in Austin. I did boil some water this morning. I don't know if I'm boiling it long enough, but I'm a risk taker, right? And I did notice that, I think it was an Austin Water Instagram story that said that it was going to be in effect for a longer time, even though it's sunny out. And so I had heard when it first started in KUT, they had said that since we were expecting rain, it might be a couple weeks of boil water notice, which is just insane, guys. I don't know that I've ever had to worry about boiling my water before in a city that wasn't New Orleans. New Orleans is like, they got this down. Those coffee shops know exactly when to pull out the bottled water. In Austin, they're just like still fighting over bottled water at HEB, our grocery store, because this is so unusual. So yeah, it's what everybody's talking about, which I think is so funny. Actually, it's kind of cool that the whole city is following this and knows about Water Treatment Plant 4, and his cat, she's just like pulling stems of plants out of the plant thing, and they're falling on the ground with their roots. And cat. Yeah, so everybody's talking about the water. I'm always talking about the water, so this is great. I have people to talk to now. So I was in Fort Worth, kicked off a project for aquifer storage and recovery, and the guy who had hired me in Austin is actually the technologist. She's just letting herself in. He is over with a different company, HDR, and he's one of the technologists for this project, which is kind of cool because I still get to work with him and I know him very well. And he's a mentor to me, and he still is. I'll still call him up if I have questions. So it's nice to be on a project and be able to ask him questions. Say, hey, what do you think about this? Which is fun. He did say that he's working on an ASR project for another city here in Texas. And I was like, wait a second, I did all the work for the feasibility study. You're working on the actual, like, the design and the cool part. Okay, the feasibility is the cool part too. But it gets the next cool part with this new company, and I did all of the legwork. And so I feel a little bit betrayed. A little bit. Yeah, which it's such a small industry. He's like, well, you want to work for me? You can come work on it at my company. Like, no, do you want to come work for us? You can come work for us again. And then we all get to work together. So, yeah, it's been a fun week. Lots of traveling, and then I'm going to travel again coming up shortly. The cat doesn't know it yet, but she might be traveling with me. Sorry, kitty. And I'm going to go drink some of this awesome Austin water in the form of not water. And so yeah, I'm gonna cut this short this time, but I will see you guys next Friday. Bye.